People with a ton of stress have 43% increased risk of dying, but there's a twist in this study that no one talks about. Stay with me and I will prove to you why stress is a lie, what exactly is happening to you and how you can handle it. In college, I was drowning with deadlines, juggling full-time studies, multiple part-time jobs and working as a teaching assistant. On paper, I should have been completely stressed out. But here's the weird part. I was not. I had a packed schedule, back-to-back deadlines, expectations piling up from every direction. But stress? Not really. And that's when I had a realization that completely changed how I handle work, pressure and the life itself. Most of us go through life feeling overwhelmed, anxious and stuck, thinking it's all stress. But what if I told you, stress isn't actually about what's happening to you. Hi, I am Sanchit, SG2 at Uber, and in this video, I am going to break down why stress is a lie, what's actually happening in your mind, and how you can take back control of your emotions starting today. 1.5 million students sign up for engineering, study physics, but forget to apply the concepts. Remember learning about stress and pressure in physics? Turns out those definitions explain life much better than you expected. Let me give you a quick Physics 101 course. Pressure represents the intensity of external forces acting at a point, whereas stress represents the internal resisting forces. So what these pressure versus stress definitions mean for us? It simply means that the pressure is real, but it's also external. Things like deadlines, intensity of work or high expectations contribute to your pressure. Now let's understand what is stress. By the way, watch this video till end because we will also discuss how to not get stressed, because that's also very important. Dr. Rogers' 30 years of research pinpointed one factor above all others as being the key driver of a person's stress: rumination. I had to go through a dictionary to really understand this word, but let me tell you directly. So rumination is thinking over and over about something which either happened in the past or could happen in the future, and then attaching a negative emotion to it. So something like, I should have done this, or what if this happens? So this was from Dr. Roger. Now let's go over to another study. HSC defines stress as the adverse reaction people have to excessive pressures or the types of demand placed on them. If you think about it, both of these say that stress is internal, and that's what physics also said, that stress is internal resisting forces. So pressure is on your shoulders, but stress, it's in your head. The problem, we have been blaming pressure for our stress, when really stress is something we create. By the way, what's the most stressful, or should we say high pressure moment you have faced in your work so far? Maybe a production bug, a tight deadline, or a scary presentation to your boss. Think about it and feel free to share in the comments. You might find out that you're not alone. From here on, we will mostly focus on stress, because pressure is not really a problem. In fact, pressure is a privilege. We will also look at real-world case studies of professionals under extreme pressure, playing with hundreds of millions of dollars. See this? But before that, let's understand how stress actually works. Stress evolved to help us survive real dangers like tigers, starvation, or threat. But today, it triggers over simple things like deadlines, email, or notifications. Our mind has not adapted to the modern world, so it treats everything urgent as a threat. I struggle with biology remembering complex names, so let me just tell you in brief. Stress is triggered by amygdala, the fear center of our brain. Our body releases cortisol, the stress hormone, when we feel threatened. But here's the thing, our brain doesn't know the difference between a real threat like a tiger chasing you or an imaginary one like your manager's email. Or sometimes it just anticipates threat, even when they don't exist. And that's why overthinking results into stress. The real reason we feel stressed isn't about the work, it's about how we overthink it. And if you see, these things are not really pressure. So even if you have a very less workload, if the work is something that you don't enjoy, you will feel stressed, because stress is about resisting something. Let me explain this by giving you an example. You probably used to play cricket in very hot summers. Did you come back home saying, oh, I am very stressed? No, right? Because even when the pressure on you was very high, you were not really resisting anything. You were enjoying that. So you were able to absorb that pressure without feeling stressed. Pressure is a weight on your shoulders. Stress is how you think about carrying that weight. Think about it, right? Pilots or surgeons deal with high-stake pressure every day, but they don't really panic. So let's try to understand how not to get stressed. But before that, let me tell you, you don't need to get away with all the stress. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but Yerkes-Dodson law explicitly says that some stress is good for you, and in fact, it increases your performance. I was an engineering student, and we all procrastinate saying that I will do this assignment the last day because I do my best work under pressure. Hate to break it to you, but science disagrees. No one truly works better under very high pressure. With that said, now let's continue on how you can avoid stress. And the thing is, detachment is the key. And to explain you better, I will go over the Knight Capital disaster of 2012. Knight Capital, a trading firm, deployed a new code to their servers, and within 45 minutes of market opening, an issue costed the company more than $440 million. Think about the pressure their software developers have. So how do these seasoned tech teams handle these ultra high pressure moments? They adopt an emergency protocol and focus on facts and next steps. They communicate constantly and consciously suppress their urge to freak out. Some engineers even describe it as going into the robot mode to get the job done, then having the emotional meltdown after the crisis is over. because stress comes when you are thinking about the problem and not really acting upon it. So reframing helps a lot. Instead of saying this deadline is overwhelming, say
challenge accepted
and consider it as a chance to show what you can do. This reframing has personally helped me a lot. Next, focus on the process and not the outcome. Pressure is about what you have to do. Stress is about worrying about the results. As Ralph Emerson, the American philosopher, has said, it's not the destination, it's the journey. You can also use the zoom out technique, which is sometimes called the 10-10-10 rule. Will this thing matter in 10 minutes, 10 months, or 10 years? Having this perspective really helps you understand whether this thing is even worth getting stressed for or not. And to remove stress, remove the uncertainties in your life and handle the worst case outcome. So if you're like me, working in tech industry, you know there are layoffs everywhere. So before going to party every week, build a good enough financial cushion. So even if you get laid off, you will have enough money to sustain for long, so you won't really get stressed. I know all this sounds probably too much to do, but the point is to start handling pressure as much as you can. And slowly, you will strengthen your ability to absorb even more pressure. You will start thinking like, I've handled tough things before, I can handle this as well. Or maybe things like, this is just another problem to solve for you. So don't eliminate pressure, just don't let it turn into stress. So let me quickly give you 3 action items on this. First, try to get as much clarity as possible. And if you don't know what to do what I learned from Frozen 2 movie.
Just do the next right thing.
Second, try to gain as much control as possible over your work. I personally just brute force my way and work very hard to get control of everything, but it's up to you on how you want to do it. Third, build your self-worth. Develop real skills so you have less fear of failure. If you believe I can handle this, the pressure feels manageable. If you believe that I am not good enough, that's when pressure becomes stress. By the way, it's also very important to separate out exhaustion, which is also very similar to stress. Exhaustion is when you work very hard without recovering. So you can be tired without actually feeling mentally stressed. Athletes push their body hard, but they also rest, recover and train for it. Stress happens when you don't allow the recovery to happen. Hustle culture is very famous these days, and I also sometimes promote it. And there are many times when I worked hard, very hard in fact, barely sleeping. But it was important for me to realize that it is not stress, it's just that I was tired because there was no internal resistance and I wanted to do that. And if you extend my example, you will understand that sometimes more pressure results into less stress. So if you're working a lot, you will be less stressed about your manager will say something or you will get laid off or anything like that. So do you think you experience more stress or more pressure? Let me know in the comments. Now we know enough to understand why stress is a lie. Remember I said that people with too much stress has 43% increased risk of dying. The twist? This was only true for the people who believed that stress is harmful for their health. So in other words, if you think that stress is killing you, it probably will kill you. Pressure is real, but stress is just a byproduct and it isn't real in the way we think about it. Stress is largely the result of how you think about what's happening. It's not the pressure itself that is causing the damage. It's about your belief that the situation is beyond you or going to crush you. The lie of stress loses its power when you see it for what it is. It's a signal and a state that you can change. So stay cool under pressure and make sure to check out this video next because YouTube says you're gonna love it. See you in this video. Bye.